Yo, what's going on, Kicks Army? Today I'll be doing a sneaker drawing on a custom Icon Curry 5, as well as talking about J.R. Smith's dilemma with his Supreme tattoo, my thoughts on the Western Conference for this upcoming NBA season. Let's get it! So I honestly had no idea you can customize Under Armour sneakers. I kind of figured that you should be able to now that I think about it. That does make sense, as Nike's always had their Nike ID thing going on. And since Under Armour is one of the bigger sneaker companies out there right now, it does make sense that they have that as an option. I just personally had no idea about it. I didn't really think about it too much. When I first saw these Curry 5s, I didn't even know they were a custom. I thought it was like an actual colorway they released, and when I saw it, I'm like, ooh, sheesh, those are tough. It's like the shoe itself is very simple and complex at the same time, and thus the colorway, at least for this that you can customize, is also very simple and complex at the same time. That gradient going from like that dark purple all the way to that nice blue color, then it dips into that light blue color, it just looks so good in my personal opinion. I think that kind of style works well in the sneaker. I mentioned this in a previous video. You can take certain colorways that may look very good on one sneaker, and if you put it to another sneaker, it may not work that well. But in my opinion, you can take the same colorway, probably transfer this over to, like, let's say a Yeezy Boost or something, and that would work pretty good in my opinion. But if you were to take the same exact colorway and transfer it over to, like, let's say an Air Jordan 11, I don't think it would work well because of the material that the Air Jordan 11 has and the type of shoe that is, how it's a lot more bulky than this. Of course, now that I bring it up, now I am curious to go ahead and try it out to see if it actually does look bad, or maybe I'm wrong, maybe it looks really dope, but I'm just picturing it in my head, it doesn't look as hot as this does. The retail price on a customized pair of Curry 5s through Under Armour's website is 170 bucks, and even though it is pricier than I would expect, it's really not a bad deal because, I mean, you're customizing the shoe to your personal taste. That being said, you guys already know I'm not copying these sneakers. You guys already know that I'm broke. I can't copy anything. I'm a broke college student. But even though that's the case, these are fire. Like, I'm not gonna lie, guys, these are really fire. I personally like the colorway for this particular sneaker. If you're interested, go on Under Armour's website and check it out for yourself. Before I get into the rest of the video, I did get a comment just now about somebody asking me, where do I get my markers? I do get the same question every now and then, so I kind of want to address it real quick. I had bought my Copic markers as a set through Amazon. As for my personal colors, I believe I also got them through Amazon, or it could have been eBay. Regardless though, I bought them both in sets. I don't know what the exact number, I think it's like 72 or 74, whatever that number is, that's the pack that I got for both of them. And then what I've been doing lately is whenever I have extra money, I'll buy individual Copic markers that I need to fill up my collection. So I noticed that I needed more purples, more browns, things like that, just to kind of even it out, because I have a lot of blues, which is really good for this particular drawing. Now, if you have to pick between one brand or the other, you're probably going to want to go with Prismacolors because they're not as expensive. If you have the money and if you can afford to buy Copics, then I suggest you buy Copics, especially if it's going to be a color that you're going to see yourself using often, because you can refill those markers. But naturally, Prismacolor markers are a few bucks cheaper than the Copics, so if you're trying to ball on a budget, then that's where you should go. Now, even if that is still too expensive, I recommend using Sharpies. That's what I used for a lot of my earlier sneaker drawings before I really got into YouTube. If you go on my Instagram SC352, and you go all the way to the bottom to like some of my original posts, you're gonna see there's like, I don't know, like a good 50 or 60 posts in a row where I just have the drawing. That was before I did my YouTube channel, and that was when I was just using Sharpies for a lot of my drawings. There's two main widths when it comes to Sharpies. There's a traditional fine Sharpie, and then there's the ultra fine Sharpie where it's very thin. It's good that you have a selection of both, because naturally you're gonna have certain spots where you want tight details. You don't wanna have that big fat Sharpie marker. You wanna get something that's a lot thinner, so you gotta use the ultra fine Sharpies. For a long time, I only used the ultra fine Sharpies whenever I was doing outlining. Now I've upgraded to my micron markers, as you guys know, but if you're really trying to ball in the budget and get some decent markers, Sharpies are absolutely the way to go. Before we get into my thoughts on the Western Conference for this upcoming season, we do need to talk about J.R. Smith's tattoo real quick. Now, for those of you who do not know, J.R. Smith got the Supreme logo tattooed on the back of his right leg. And thus, because he got the tattoo on his leg, the NBA had told him that every game that he does not have that tattoo covered up, he will be fined. The NBA has this rule where they prohibit players from displaying any commercial logos or corporate insignia on their body and or their hair. It is weird though, because the NBA is a little bit inconsistent with how they approach this, because we've seen players have, Jordan brand logos tattooed on their body, Nike swoosh tattooed on their bodies. Heck, even Iman Shumpert had the Adidas logo in his hair as part of his haircut and was told to shave it off. Now, obviously, we saw in the recent years that the NBA has now allowed brands to be a part of the game by having their logo etched onto the player's jersey as part of a sponsorship, so those brands would pay the NBA a lot of money to have their brand mark on those players' jerseys. In return, that is like amazing advertising for those brands, right? So because of this, it does seem like the NBA is more friendly towards brands cooperating and maybe being advertised through their league. But the problem is Supreme isn't working with the NBA. So I feel like in this particular scenario, because Supreme isn't, making a brand deal with the NBA in some fashion, they don't want that logo being shown on their court because there's rules against players doing things like this. Long story short, if it's not making the league money, they don't want to see it. They don't want to deal with it. They don't even want that to be a problem. They want to make as much money off of what they can, which is their product, and that's these players. These players are their product. It's not that J.R. Smith can't have the logo on his leg. He just has to cover it up. Otherwise, he's going to get fined, and that's how the NBA starts to make some of their money back on players making these decisions. Now it's like, well, why would Supreme ever want to do a deal with the NBA when they have players who have their logo tattooed on their body showing it out for free? It's like, what incentivizes them to do that? So in a way, this is just the NBA trying to have a little bit more control over their league, so that way they can kind of really make sure they have as much profit going to them as possible. But with all that being said, don't be surprised if within a year, maybe 2 years, this changes and it's really not that big of a deal anymore. But for now, yeah, sorry JR, you're gonna have to cover up your tattoo, and even you said you're just gonna go ahead and cover it up, so I guess it's all good anyway. Don't be surprised if he starts wearing a lot of Supreme collaboration sneakers though. Like, he's definitely gonna go ahead and do that. Some foam posits, a bunch of other stuff. As for my thoughts for the Western Conference, guys, the Western Conference is so important, obviously, to the NBA because you have the best team in the NBA in the West. But now the West just got a lot more interesting, guys. We see the Lakers are not relevant again. They got LeBron James, and they're going to do good. Okay, without a doubt, they're going to make the playoffs. For the people who say they're not going to make the playoffs, to me, that's just unfathomable. They're definitely going to make the playoffs. Now, just because they're going to make the playoffs, they might not necessarily be like one of the better teams in that conference, okay? We already have the Warriors. We know they're going to do very well. Hopefully Boogie Cousins comes back and he doesn't play too well, so that way it's not complete crap and they, just beat every single team they meet. Hopefully they have some friction and the form of potentially facing up against the Houston Rockets. We know the Houston Rockets should have beaten them last season, but they were one Chris Paul injury away and a whole bunch of missed threes in that Game 7 away from beating those Warriors. Now, even though the Houston Rockets did lose a few pieces, they did gain Carmelo Anthony. And from watching some of the highlights of their preseason game today, Carmelo Anthony looks like this is the team he was meant to be on all along. And what's very interesting about this scenario, he's not the best player on the team. He is also not the second best player on the team. By default, he would be the third best player on the team, and his role for this team is going to be super crucial in having spot up shots. Like, if this works out really well, these Warriors can be in trouble because these Rockets gave them work last season. Like, you guys saw that series, they were giving them the work. But we absolutely need to pay respect to some of these other teams. Let's look at the Spurs, for example, okay? They pretty much only had Kawhi Leonard for like 9 games last season, and he didn't play the rest of the season either because he was injured or he didn't want to play because he didn't trust the organization. One or the other, right? Well, now you replace him with DeMar DeRozan, and he's a player that's actually going to be able to play. They say the best kind of ability is availability, so DeMar DeRozan's not injured. He's going to play every single game for sure. And he is absolutely an upgrade over Kawhi Leonard because, well, Kawhi Leonard didn't play. And even when he could play, he didn't want to play there. So when you replace him with a guy that actually wants to be there, who has a fire in his belly because he's still upset, he's still salty over being traded, like, yeah, that's going to be a huge improvement to the team. Got young players that look really interesting. They got Coach Pop. Like, come on, man. They got Coach Pop. Just having that man alone as the coach is automatically 40+ wins. Not really, but that's pretty much been that way for the past 20 years, so yes, really. We also have the Oklahoma City Thunder. As we know, Paul George decided to stay in Oklahoma City, which was huge. Nobody really expected that. Almost everybody expected him to leave. So the fact that he's staying is absolutely monumental for the team. And on top of that, Carmelo Anthony is in there. Now, I hope Carmelo Anthony does very well in the Rockets, but he was absolutely not a good fit when he was on the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't see them having too much success in the postseason. Maybe they're a second round team, but they're going to give a good fight. Russell Westbrook is an absolute stud, and clearly Paul George likes playing with them, so that's a good mix in and of itself. And if I do have to pay respect to one more team that could be kind of interesting, I gotta pay respect to the Pelicans. Why? Well, because Anthony Davis, that's why. That's the only reason I need. Okay, Anthony Davis is going to be an absolute stud if he's not already a stud. People have been saying for years that this guy is destined to be the best player in the league sometime soon. I see it happening, honestly, within 2 or 3 years. Like, unquestionably, he's going to be the best player. They did add Julius Randle, all right? They still have a few good pieces on the team. Obviously, it sucks that they lost Rajon Rondo, but they're going to be a legit team. I don't know how much noise they can make in the postseason, but they're going to be good. No worries about that. But because both conferences look really interesting this season, especially when you compare it to the last few years, guys, I'm so excited for the NBA. These preseason games are so entertaining, even though they don't really matter at all. Like, they're really there to kind of help the players train up, get used to the flow of the game. I love that the NBA is back. October 16th could not come any faster. I am ready. But that's going to do it for today's video. If you guys enjoy these daily sneaker drawing videos and basketball discussions, make sure you hit that like button, and if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and bounce past that button to get post notification. Don't forget to visit Kickstarter.com for all your sneaker sensor needs. And guys, I have over 290 videos on this channel. Make sure you check them all out, or you don't have to, that's okay. Y'all already know that I'm uploading daily sneaker drawing videos. So with that being said, I will see you guys tomorrow. Yay!